Hello buddy, it's Bendominator, and it's pretty crazy to think that it's been a whole year since Chapter 2 Season 3 of Fortnite Battle Royale has released. So in today's video I'm going to be doing a bit of a retrospective talking about the good and the bad of Season 3 and why it is personally my favorite season of Fortnite. But before we get into the video, if you guys enjoyed the content, be sure to leave a thumbs up, subscribe if you are new because I make videos like this all the time. And if you really want to support me, my code is Bendominator in the item shop, #ad. Let's go ahead and get right into the video. So like I said in the intro, Chapter 2 Season 3 of Fortnite is definitely my favorite season of all time, and that's for quite a few reasons. Now let's first start by talking about the theme. The theme of a Fortnite season is very, very important, and I feel like Chapter 2 Season 3 nails it when it comes to its theme. And of course the season's theme being the flood and a lot of really interesting summer vibes, and I do really enjoy any season that has summer vibes. And I just love the flood. It was really cool. It changed up the map a ton. And this is the one season that I feel like in Chapter 2 made the map feel completely different. You also had areas like the Fortilla that had a really interesting vibe because they were kind of like thrown together areas made from like metal scraps. And it just felt really interesting. And it felt very nostalgic. And yes, of course, now looking back on the season, I have a lot of nostalgia for it. But even then, when I was playing it, the whole vibe of it really just felt nostalgic because it reminded me of going on vacations to beach towns and stuff like that really felt like that really felt like really interesting, like touristy areas with really weird food shops and stuff like that. When I went to the Fortilla, when I went to areas like that, it felt like those kind of interesting touristy places, even though I don't know if that was kind of the vibe they were going for, but seeing things like the fish stick shops and all the thrown together things and all the water and all that kind of stuff, it felt really cool, and it felt very nostalgic to vacations that I've gone on in the past where I've visited towns and areas that are similar to that. Just the whole art direction of the season was really cool and very unique from anything we've ever seen in Fortnite prior. That coupled with the amazing sound direction as well, with all the really cool lobby tracks and the in-game sound effects when leveling up and doing challenges, just felt really cool, and I just love the vibe of it so much, which is a big reason why it is my favorite season. And the other big reason why it is my favorite season as well is because of the map changes. The map changes this season were really cool, and it's the only season in Chapter 2 and the only season really at all in Fortnite where I've actually gone into the map and felt like it was a completely different map, with it still being the same map. Because pretty much all of the map was changed due to the massive flood that happened, which was one of the most hyped up things in Fortnite. You also had brand new POIs like Riggedy Rig, Catty Corner, and the Fortilla, which were all really cool POIs. I feel like the Fortilla should have stayed. Riggedy Rig I'm fine with leaving, but Catty Corner's still on the map, which is really nice. Riggedy Rig was a really nice landing spot for duos and solos, so it was one that I really liked a lot, even though there wasn't a whole lot going on there. You also have Catty Corner, which is still one of my favorite landing spots on the map to this day. Just such a good solo duo spot. Even in squads, it's not even that bad. You actually get quite a lot of loot. And back then in Season 3, you could actually get probably some of the best mythics in the season, which were the Mythic Charged Shotgun and the Impulse Grenade Launcher. And then, of course, the Fortilla was really cool. I just didn't land there as much as I really should have because I just didn't really enjoy the henchmen there. I didn't really enjoy it being one of the spy locations because I really wasn't a fan of the whole spy location thing. At Catty Corner, I think it worked really well because it was very contained, but at places like the Agency and the Fortilla, I was just not a huge fan of it. But yeah, I really should have landed the Fortilla more, especially because it did leave us pretty soon after that season ended, which is very unfortunate. And speaking of the Agency, it actually got changed to the Authority, which is something that I often forget about in this season, but it was probably my least favorite map change. Because, well, the Agency didn't really change when it came to becoming the Authority. The giant wall that surrounded it was probably one of the most annoying things to rotate through in Fortnite. It was very similar to Colossal Coliseum in the fact that it was pretty much a POI with a giant, indestructible surrounding wall that people would camp on top of, and since it was in the middle of the map, you'd pretty much have to rotate through it almost every single game. And me and my squad mates ended up losing matches almost every time we had to rotate through there due to people camping on top of it. And it's even worse than Colossal Coliseum because there's also henchmen there, and there was barely ever a time when you would actually get there mid-game or have to rotate there and somebody killed all the henchmen because there were so many of them. Because with the original agency, there was already a ton of henchmen in the interior and a bit on the exterior, but now there's this giant wall around it, so with the authority, you actually have a ton more henchmen there than there was with the agency, which already had a ton. So yeah, that is definitely a negative when it comes to Season 3, in my opinion, is the authority, but overall, it didn't really ruin my experience with the season. Just a negative that I feel like is pretty important to point out. And with the flood each week, where we get minor decreases in the water levels, which I think was really cool, but I feel like it happened too fast. I think they could have spaced out those map changes a bit more just to kind of have this flood a bit longer, because I do see the complaint in that the last few weeks of the season were pretty boring due to the water level being all the way decreased and the map going back to its original form for the most part. And well, I didn't really feel that due to the introduction of the cars making the last few weeks a lot more interesting. I definitely can see that complaint, and I think it could have easily been fixed if they just spaced out those map changes a lot more. But on the positive side, I did really enjoy seeing the water decrease each and every week. It was such an amazing thing for Chapter 2 especially. Just getting these map changes all the time was super refreshing, and it made the season a lot more fun just to look forward to all the water level decreases. It was super exciting at the time. Now, what about the actual gameplay of the season? Was the gameplay good? And in my opinion, of course, this is one of the most fun Fortnite seasons I'd ever played. Now, I do have a few complaints, mostly with the henchmen. I feel like henchmen kind of made existing POIs that would have been really fun worse for me, including the Authority and mostly the Fortilla, because I think I would have enjoyed the Fortilla a lot more if the henchmen weren't there. And of course, the main complaint with the season is the Marauders. The Marauders were relentless, and these were probably the worst implication of henchmen that we ever had. Now, I did like the style of the Marauders. I did like the art direction of the Marauders. I thought they were very interesting. They were very cool. Sometimes they would even be pretty fun to take down, and they did have some pretty good loot. But overall, man, they were just annoying. They came at the worst times, and they were just super frequent. And they're probably the worst implementation of AI in Fortnite that we have seen at this point. But what about the good? What was good about the season? What made the season so much fun? And in my opinion, it was the mobility and it was the loot pool. This season had a great loot pool. And I know a lot of people are upset about how they took out the pump, but the charge was just so much fun this season. Because if you got good with the charge, if you actually spent the time to use it, you would destroy people. And that is one of the main reasons why I had so much fun this season, because this was the season where I actually felt like I was doing really well in the game, because unlike a lot of other people, I actually took the time to learn the charge and get good at it, which actually ended up making me a pretty good player compared to a lot of the other people I was playing against. And the thing about the charge is that it worked super well in this loot pool, because in Season 3, a lot of the meta was slower, it was a bit more strategic, you had a lot more weapons that you had to kind of take time with, you had the hunting rifle, you had the charge shotgun. Season 3 was not a time of rushing players with SMGs and super fast shotguns. It was a meta where you would get into a build fight, and well yes, build fighting is always going to be very quick. It felt more strategic. You felt like with the items you had, you kind of had to plan a bit more, and you really had to take the time to get the perfect shot on somebody. And that's what made it so satisfying, and that's what made the charge so satisfying. And that's why the charge actually was so good that season, is because it fit into the loot pool, and the whole loot pool was built around it. Compare that to something like Season 5, where a lot of the meta was very shotgun heavy, with fast shotguns, fast SMGs, and the charge sucked because you had the lever action and you had the new and improved version of the tactical shotgun. So the charge really did not do well in that loot pool. But in Season 3, when everything was slower, when all the weapons were kind of built around it, when the whole loot pool was built around the charge, it thrived because you really had to learn how to use it, and if you did, you had a very clear advantage over most of the other players that you would be fighting against. You also had the reintroduction of a lot of really great items like the Chug Splash, like the hunting rifle that I talked about before, which really made the season a lot of fun. And another reason why the season was so fun is because of the amazing mobility. Obviously there was a lot of swimming happening, but there was also whirlpools which were really good for getting around the map. You also still had helicopters in the game, which were always super fun, and then cars got added near the end of the season, which is probably one of the best additions Fortnite has ever seen. Just such a great meta this season. I feel like it was just so much fun, and it actually kind of rewarded you for taking one of the new weapons and getting really good at it. And I feel like that's something we really haven't seen before then or since then. There really hasn't been a weapon like the charge that takes so much time to get used to and to learn, but once you do, you're actually rewarded with being able to use this really good weapon, and you'll have an advantage over a lot of other players that just refuse to learn it. And I feel like that's really cool. So yeah, overall Chapter 2 Season 3 was my favorite season of Fortnite. I loved the theme, I loved the map changes, I loved the loot pool, and I loved the amount of mobility. It was just so much fun, and I hope we get another season like this one day. And you might notice that I didn't mention cosmetics in this video, and that is because I'm going to be doing a video where I rank the Season 3 Battle Pass at some point. I don't know when that video is going to come out, but I do want to rank all the Battle Passes that I have owned and completed, and I'll probably move backwards. So since the first one that I ranked was Season 4, I never got around to ranking Season 3, and Season 2, and Season 1. And then maybe I'll even do the Chapter 1 seasons as well. But that will be for another day. But anyway guys, that's about going to do it for this video. What do you think about Chapter 2 Season 3? I'd love to know. Be sure to leave a comment down below. Be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you are new, and I will see you guys in the next video. Have a great rest of your day, and goodbye.